Hi guys, I want to share with you a book that I've been working in at present moment, and this is using iron-on transfers. Now, going back in time, there was a period of time where you could get in your weekly magazines iron-on transfers, and this is mostly for embroidery. And I'm not so much an embroiderer at all, but what we've been doing, me and my mum, have been collecting these vintage transfers, and then what I've tried to do is transfer them. You can physically iron them. You would iron them onto fabric, onto linen, but in my case I have been ironing them straight onto vintage books. Now this vintage book here date back, I think it's around about 1901 or even into the 1800s, and so rather than cut this particular large book up, I wanted to do some way of decorating. So the print had stood out and had a little bit more going on. Now, don't ever forget, as I was pointed out to me, once these iron-on transfers have been ironed, admittedly, you're only probably going to get 2 uses out of them before the actual blue transfer comes off. Now, don't throw them away. You've got options. You can cut them up and re-glue them, because you can see that the transfer is still here. But on the other option, you could use some carbon paper. Back in the day when you could do typewriting, or you want to, like in a duplicate book, you can get the carbon, and so you can still draw using these as transfers, so they're not used up the time that you've ironed off the back. So what we've got here, this is the actual physical transfer. You can see on the left hand side here what I've done. I've ironed it onto this book, and then I've gone ahead and used some watercolours, some really vivid colours here, just to really jazz up this particular print. I've also, on this side, I've started using some of the same colours, just transferring the watercolours onto some of the text. I'm going to do some drawing over this side at a later date. But let's just share some of the other things that I've done in this particular book using iron-on transfers. Now, I did purchase these. I've got some Suki here, iron-ons. Now, this particular, it has a wonderful, it's for t-shirts and linen and bags. It's quite a modern take, obviously, on transfers. But, dare I say it, the images are wonderful. I love some of these images in this particular transfer book. But when it went onto the book, it didn't seem to come out in, I mean, the colours are very wishy-washy, so not every iron-on transfer is going to give you the results that you probably are looking for. So you're going to have to bear that in mind. Everything is all dependent on, I was going to say, trial and error. I've got a really old vintage book page here, and yet again you can see I've used, now this one I've coloured in using a form of pens. I've got these whispers here, and they're acid, and you know, I mean, they're ideal sugar loaf here for acid free and non-toxic. And so I've done some pen, and yet again we've got a different style of transfer here, and I've started colouring on this particular page. As I turned around and said, you can cut them up, so I started making tags. I ironed the remnants here onto this particular coffee stain tag. I glued and cut the actual tracing paper onto this particular tag. And I think I've got one more to show you. I think I've got a lamb in here that I use. I mean, this is a lovely, lovely book. It's got some beautiful images from the past, I was going to say, but if I can find my lamb. So we've got this lamb here, and that's another transfer which I've just used pens on, and I've just tried a different variety, and as you can see, more florals on the back here, yet again using those whispers, the sugarloaf pens. So there you go guys, that's a way of using iron-on transfers, and that's what I've been doing in this really large book of mine. Catch up with you soon, bye bye.